What up, TCK Potters and fantasy-focused team? I'm your host, Sky Guasco. This is another episode of the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm joined with my man, Christopher Benevides from the Commish Fantasy Football Podcast. We're going to be breaking down the Thursday night football recap between the not-so-bungles and the Jags, and then we're going to transition into Week 4 and give you all of the week previews as well as our pick'ems as well. If you're not here last week, Chris has been doing this with me for the last 3 seasons, and he also runs his own show, of course, which I'll let him celebrate here in just a second. Also, we will be very quickly at the end rolling through all of the TCK Listener League rosters. If you are not in the TCK Listener League and you don't care to hear for those, the last part of this episode will be that. You're welcome to move on. If you are in the TCK Listener League, that is when Chris and I go through all the rosters and we mention a few things that we might recommend that you change up for your bench stashes. Last week, we had a couple last-minute moves, and they worked out pretty well. So if you'd like to hear some extra help there on your TCK Listener League roster, we'll be getting you at the end. Christopher, good to have you back, my man. How are you, brother?
Good, bro. Having a good Friday here, but Saturday when you drop this thing. But yeah, looking forward to the weekend, bud. How are things?
Awesome. Good. We had a nice game Thursday night, and unfortunately for the Jags, okay, let's start with some positives.
Yeah.
Fortunately for the Jags, they actually played pretty well considering how they had played the previous few weeks. They had a lead. They were dominating is a little tough. They were beating up on a Bengals team who was also impressed this season. Unfortunately for the Jags, they lose it at the end. Joe Burrow does his thing. The Bengals come back, end up winning the game overall, and they get the victory at 24-21. And the Bengals move to 3-1, which is quite impressive. And the Jags fall to 0-4. Now, the Jags have lost 19 straight games dating back to last year. Of course, last year they win opening week, lose the rest. They get Trevor Lawrence. Well, since they've had Trevor Lawrence, they've lost 4 in a row as well. And of course, I'm sure you've heard by now, Trevor Lawrence has lost as many games in the pros as he did in high school and college careers combined. They've lost 19 straight games. It's the longest streak since the Detroit Football Lions in 2007 to 2019, when, let's not forget, they went 0-16 in the middle of that. So what are a couple takeaways here, man? Your boy Mixon gets nicked up at the very end, but didn't, quite leave. So that looked okay. DJ Chark fractures his ankle, second play of the game, out for the season. Marvin Jones seemed to have a knee hiccup. He was kind of obsolete in this game. Laviska steps up, has a big night. And then you had Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd finally breaks out. And CJ Uzomah, who I know everyone's excited about, big night for tight end. He'll be irrelevant next week. But Burrow and Lawrence both played well in their respects. And James Robinson, 95% of the snaps with Carlos Hyde as a late scratch. Were maybe 1 or 2 takeaways here from Thursday night.
Yeah, so I think it's an encouraging game for the Jacksonville Jaguars overall. I think that everyone's kind of honing in on the Urban Meyer's like hands on knees, head down kind of look. And I know everyone wants to kind of hop on the 19 losses in a row. I think that's kind of an irrelevant scenario. They played pretty well. And you got to really look at this team in a micro viewpoint, not like the macro over the last, 2 seasons, especially when Trevor Lawrence wasn't at the helm. I know he's 0-3 right now, or I should say going to be 0-4 now. The team in general, though, I think they're on their way. Again, there are no high expectations for this team. I don't care what Trevor Lawrence is doing or has done or isn't doing for that team. There are no expectations for this team. Their only expectation is that they continue to build as a team and then see where the chips fall at the end of the season. They need more pieces around them. Hopefully they don't, mess up their next draft in the sense of they probably didn't need ETN, in my opinion. I think James Robinson is clearly can be a workhorse, plays just fine when he gets the lion's share of the workload. So they just needed a couple of additional pieces, offensive line, some weapons on the outside. Defense obviously needs some help. Look, the Bengals are the Bengals. I think they're overachieving at the moment, but Burrow making that last drive the way he did, that looks awesome. He is
big time.
Oh, it's huge. Huge. And by the way, that was Brady's career for the record. Like Brady, although 2011, 2007 had great, incredible seasons as a quarterback, as an individual play. But for most of Brady's career, he was a pretty good quarterback. And then when it came time to, money's on the line, chips on the table, he showed up. And that's what Burrow did last night. I don't care if it was the Jaguars. He still showed up, put his team in position. They win the game. So kudos to Joe Burrow. Super, super stoked to keep watching him play and grow. Honestly, dude, I was excited to watch Joe Mixon play. And I got to be honest, if it wasn't for the touchdown, he would have had a terrible fantasy night. So I don't know what to say. I mean, that's what you get. And that's what you're getting with Joe Mixon. So
lots of volume, but underwhelming, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And one more thing on Joe Burrow. We know he can sling it. We know Jamar Chase and he obviously are, besties, and Tyler Boyd finally blew up, which Bobby's been calling for all summer long, with the absence of my boy T. Higgy, who should be back here sometime soon. Nonetheless, the offense for the Bengals is quite solid, and especially if Mixon remains healthy. Burrow looked a lot more mobile than I expected as well, right? Last year, he had a horrendous 3-part knee injury. I mean, like, that ruined some guys' careers. Thankfully, he's in his early 20s and he can bounce back from it. But he was moving out of the pocket, had a couple of scrambles. He just looked a lot more mobile than I had expected from him, which is good. Obviously, it's nice for fantasy. And speaking of mobile, quickly, Trevor Lawrence, 1 rushing touchdown, and he had another one that he got stuffed, but I think he scored nonetheless. He moves quite well also. We saw, of course, in the national championship a couple of years ago in the playoff there, we had the huge run against Ohio State. So both these guys are kind of underrated mobile quarterbacks a little bit, kind of a Ryan Tannehill mobile quarterback, right? Obviously not some of these top guys, but nonetheless, Bengals turn it up, man. And again, whether it's versus the Jags or not, Joe Burrow steps up big late. My boy, McPherson, the 3rd-round draft pick kicker, comes up with the rookie with the dub. Bengals get the win 3-1. Jags fall to 0-4. All right, let's move on to the Sunday slate here this week, Chris. We'll get into this now. We have a lot of games to cover, of course. So we're going to give you just a couple of the high-volume top targets on this one, and then we will move on to our picks as well before we get into the TCK roster looks. And I know my boy Fraggy's in the comments here on YouTube. There's a few of you chiming in so far. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter on Fantasy Focus. Make sure you give us a subscribe and a like. There, you can also find Chris and I on Twitter. My handle is Sky Guasco. And find Chris and the Commish Fantasy Football Podcast crew at the Commish FFP on Twitter. They're also on all the social medias, Instagram and TikTok as well. And then they have their free playbook you can get that drops every single Tuesday. Just go to their website and check that out as well. All right, we're going to get into the questions at the end of the episode here. We got to buzz through the rest of the stuff. So, Fraggy, either hang on to us, man, or you can reach out to us in DM and we'll get to your questions. I see you have some roster situations. So happy to help you out. Or, of course, you can join us Sunday morning for pre-kickoff. I know, Fraggy, you'll be there. But for everybody else, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time, right here on YouTube on Fantasy Focus. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit that bell. You'll get the alert and catch us Sunday morning, 3 hours prior to kickoff for all your start-sit needs. All right, Chris, let's get into this, man. We got a lot of games to cover. Here we go. Lions, Bears. Bears have the 3-point favorite here, 42 over-under. That's horrendous. Lions, look, man, the Lions are winless, but that's the Lions. They lose a heartbreaker, 66-yard NFL record kick to my boy Jay Tuck and the Ravens last week, but they had a chance to win that game. They've had a chance to win a couple of games. They were up on Rodgers and the Packers. They had a chance. They almost came back on the Niners too. The Lions are like 10 plays away from being undefeated, which is weird to think about. The Bears, on the other hand, go in the opposite direction. Now, under Matt Nagy, they're 5-1 against the Lions, so that's a good plus there. But the quarterback is up in the air. It's going to be a game-time decision. What the hell are we doing here in Chicago, man?
Bro, I wrote down here the fact that they have their QB as a game-time decision according to Matt Nagy. I think this is Fields. I think Fields is going to be the quarterback, and I think this is he's poorly trying to keep the press away from who's going to be QB and asking a lot of questions and trying to like give some kind of like protection to Fields if he is going to be the quarterback. Otherwise, it would be Andy Dalton. Like, I don't know. Why would you not say it's Andy Dalton if it's not going to be Andy Dalton? So I think Fields is going to be the quarterback taking the field here on Sunday. And because of that, I still don't think they have a proper game plan in place. We talked about this last week. The Bears look pretty fucking scary in offense. I said to fade all Bears, which I think you have to continue to fade all Bears until we have proof that they know what to do with Justin Fields when he's playing and they can give him protection. So I think, 9 sacks were taken by Fields?
8. Yeah.
8 sacks. Yeah, just not very good. So I'm fading all Bears again. I know they're playing the Lions, which have a terrible defense, but dude, I'm gonna take the team. I'm picking the Detroit Lions to win this game, but I'm taking the team that I think is more talented and has the better coach. I'm fading Bears right now, so that's my position.
You did fade all Bears last week, and I was like, man, that's a strong take. I know Allen Robinson's been tricky, but like Justin Fields, obviously pregame, we had a lot of high hopes. He didn't look ready. I think he's going to be good for a long time, and I think that'll happen soon. But he did not look good, and that defensive line for the Browns dominated. Myles Garrett had 4.5 by himself. The Lions don't have that. I'm also picking the Lions. That's going to be the upset this week. Because again, they've been playing closer ball. I think Jared Goff, although isn't great, I think is good enough, and they could, outscore the Bears here. So I'm also going to take it quickly. Let's run through the roster, man. Give me a start or sit on your comfortability in this particular game. Jared Goff and Superflex, start or sit.
In a Superflex, yes, not in a 1 QB.
Okay, Swift and Williams.
Yes and yes.
All right, let's go. I mean, any pass catchers? Probably not here. It's a scramble there. TJ Hawkinson, you got it, automatic.
Yep.
Let's go to the Bears side here. If it's Dalton, start or sit. Superflex.
Don't start Dalton. No.
Fields.
No.
Okay, neither one of them. All right, you're going to wait another week on Fields. Okay, and you're sitting all other Bears. You would mention that. The one that I would play, I'm okay with the receivers until we see it. The one I would play is David Montgomery. A, you don't have a better option, and B, the Lions can be run on. So I would play Demont, but I'm okay with Mooney and Allen. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you as well. I think you start Demont, but yeah, dude, A-Rob's wide receiver 70 right now. It's not good. It's not good.
All right. So fade most Bears, start Demont, and then, okay, we'll fire it up here. All right, let's move on here. We got the Washington football team and the Falcons. Washington 1.5 point favorites, 48 over under. Atlanta won 6 straight games versus the Washington football team over the last handful of years. Of course, they don't play each other too often. Now, Atlanta has been very tricky, man. They lose Julio Jones to Tennessee, obviously. Calvin Ridley's been getting the targets, but he's yet to go over 60 yards, has not had 1 touchdown. Pitts getting the targets, hasn't blown up like everybody wants him to. The running back's a mess. Cordell Patterson, who's a kick returner, is the lead running back there. Mike Davis is a plotter at best. Matt Ryan's benchable in single quarterback leagues. On the other side, Terry McLaurin's an automatic. Antonio Gibson's an automatic. Curtis Samuel might come back this week. Logan Thomas is an automatic. Tyler Heineke, starter sit in Superflex. So, Chris, once again, let's go down the roster here. Let's start with Washington. Heineke, Superflex, starter sit.
Yeah, I think you start him.
Okay. Gibby's automatic, right?
Yes.
Okay. Terry McLaurin's automatic. If Curtis Samuel plays, starter sit.
I'm going to say start.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I think he will. If he's healthy enough to suit up, I think he's healthy enough to play in this secondary for Atlanta is terrible. On the other, and Logan Thomas automatic as well, a top tight end.
I also
think
in a PPR format, you got to play McKissick as well.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Mm-hmm. And the Falcons over the last couple of years have given up the most receptions to running backs, and Saquon Barkley chewed them up recently as well. Okay, let's go to the other side. Matt Ryan, man, not playable in single quarterback leagues. Superflex leagues, are you comfortable?
Yeah, Superflex I'm fine with. Yeah, that's fine.
Washington has not been what we thought they were going to be.
No.
But I do think they're good enough to beat up on the Falcons here this week. All right, Calvin Ridley, you got to ride the wave, right?
Yeah, you got to start Calvin Ridley. I'm fine with starting Mike Davis as well, and obviously Kyle Pitts. Alex actually has Cordell Patterson as a start of the week, if you go and look at the reasons, I mean, you can see it. I mean, he's not the running back 1 on the team, but he's certainly catching balls out of the backfield. So in a PPR format, don't sleep on Cordell Patterson. I actually think this is going to be a high-scoring game. So the defenses, neither of them are playing particularly well. You kind of already mentioned that with Washington football team, and both teams have fairly good weapons. So I actually like to see the Falcons and the Washington football team kind of duke it out this week.
Washington football team DST has been terrible so far.
Not very good.
Would you play them, though, with the upside? They still have a great defensive line. They just haven't put it together. Would you play them against Atlanta, who we know can put it up offensively, but haven't quite yet? And Matt Ryan is completely immobile in the pocket, so maybe they get sacks?
Begrudgingly, maybe. I really feel like if you have a better option in a DST situation, I'd go away from Washington football team. But if you need to, go for it. They'll probably get some sacks, so that might help you.
All right. Who's your pick in this one? Washington football team or Atlanta?
I'm going with the football team.
Okay. I'm going to go with another upset here. I picked the Lions over the Bears on the road. I'm going to pick the Falcons at home over Washington football team too. I just think they put it together. It's just a matter of time here before these wide receivers get loose, and this could be a Pitts game. All right, let's move forward here. Texans and Bills, 15.5 point favorites. Last week, of course, we had the massive, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me, we had a massive favorite there for the Bucks. These are like college over-unders, 15.5. You
That's
never
insane.
never see that in the pros. Bills and Texans here. Rookie quarterbacks are 1-4 versus Buffalo in the Sean McDermott era since 2017. And of course, we're getting my boy Davis Mills coming out of Stanford, getting the rub again this week.
Whew.
Look, your boy Josh Allen. I mean, rough week or two, but they're firing on all cylinders. Stephon Diggs hasn't been Stephon Diggs yet, but he's getting the work. E-Money Sanders has been the deep threat so far. Dawson Knox, number 6 tight end right now in fantasy football. Zach Moss has a good game. Singletary has a good game. Which one? Either, both, neither. On the other side, the Texans, it's all Brandon Cooks all the time. Do you trust anybody else? We'll make it quick on the Texans side. Any running back, Davis Mills, Superflex, and are you so comfortable against the Bills, which will be Trey White, with Brandon Cooks?
No, yeah, I don't think you have much confidence in any of the Texans this week. The Bills are ranked 5th, the graded 5th according to PFF in defense overall. I don't like the Texans offense right now, so I'm fading all Texans offense except for Cooks. Can't really sit Cooks because he's been so productive on his own. So he's a one man. He's like Teflon Don. So just keep going with Teflon Don. On the Bills side, you got to fire up Diggs. You got to fire up obviously Josh Allen, dude. Teflon Cole Beasley just seems to keep chugging. He's tied for 8th in the league with 30 targets right now, just one behind Stefan Diggs, who's tied for 5th in the league. There's a couple of guys in between there that are all tied together. But 30 targets for Cole Beasley, 31 targets for Stefan Diggs. So you know who Josh Allen's go-to guys are. I think you fire them both up. I actually don't think you're going to see a lot of Dawson Knox this game. They're not going to need him. So play him because he's your tight end 6, I suppose, overall. But I don't really think this is going to be a Dawson Knox kind of game. I just don't see they're going to need him that much.
Zach Moss, Singletary, either, neither, both.
If I have better options, I'm going to stay away from them. This is going to be Josh Allen, Cole Beasley, Stefan Diggs show this weekend.
Okay. Give me your pick here, man. Bills, Texans.
Go with the Buffalo Bills.
All right. I see my man Beach in here from Twitch, always showing up. Appreciate your support constantly, my man. You are giving us scores in the comments, which I appreciate. You missed one, though. I think you tuned in a little bit late. So give us a Lions-Bears score there, and then we can catch up on the rest of these. I love that participation in the chat room, though, my man. Okay, let's move on here. Panthers and Cowboys. Cowboys home favorites by 4.5 points here. 50.5 over under. Carolina has allowed 14 points or fewer in each game this season. We've said it ad nauseum, but I have to keep repeating it, Chris. 2 years ago, they bring Matt Rule in, who was a run and gun Big Ten guy, right? Did it at Temple as well, did it with Baylor, score 100 points and hope your defense, lasts. Comes into his first NFL draft, drafts 8 consecutive defenders, the entire draft for Carolina, all defensemen. The first draft of the next year, also a defender. They are legit. And the Panthers have been playing quite well on both sides of the ball here. I've been mentioning Sammy D and him doing well. 2 of his first 3 games over 300. He had 4 300-yard games and 38 career games with the Jets. So he's playing very well as well. Christian McCaffrey still out in this one. Can we trust Robbie Anderson? DJ Moore is clearly the number 1 here. And Terrace Marshall's not quite ready, so we're going to wait on him. But let's make it easy on the Panthers side here. Are you good with Sammy D? And we're going to upgrade him from Superflex because he's automatic Superflex at this point. We're going to upgrade him to single quarterback league against the Cowboys. Are you willing to stream him if you're streaming quarterbacks?
Yes, possibly. Again, it depends on who you have on your team. I actually don't think this is going to be an offensive showdown like we expect. Like you kind of mentioned, dude, both defenses are actually pretty good. So Panthers are graded the number 1 overall defense right now in PFF. Now, granted, they haven't played a lot of great teams. They kind of had that one game against the Saints, which I don't know if it was the Saints playing poorly or the Panthers just dominated that game. I just don't know where they're kind of stacking right now, the Panthers, because otherwise they haven't played they played the Jets, okay, and then they played They played the Texans. So like they haven't really played anybody that's been worthwhile. This is the game that we're going to find out what the Panthers are made out of, because we know the Cowboys have an offensive arsenal that can score at will. And their defense isn't so bad. Like they're actually graded 11th in the NFL according to PFF. And again, from a defensive, I should say from an offensive standpoint, right now Dallas is ranked first in rush blocking. And so I do think we'll probably see a healthy dose of Zeke. We'll see a healthy dose of Pollard. So this will be a good test for the Panthers. We'll know if they're pretenders or they're actually contenders in this game. If they are who we think they are, in that the Panthers are a good team and they're a good defense, this will be a closer game than I think we're expecting. And I think the Panthers will kind of keep it close and might actually win against the Cowboys this week. So the only guy you can't trust on the team is Robbie Anderson. I just don't think he's the guy. It's DJ Moore. That guy has elevated himself into elite wide receiver echelon at this point. Sam Darnold looks for him all the time. He happens to be open all the time. So you have to go with DJ Moore. And I think Chuba Hubbard has another game.
Awesome. I like that too. Chuba Hubbard's going to get another opportunity with Christian McCaffrey out again this week. If you're in a super deep league, a 3 running back situation, I'm in one league with 3 running backs mandatory, or 2 or 3 flexes, a deeper league, whatever, 14, 16. Look at my man, Royce Freeman. It's not going to be pretty. He might stumble in. I wouldn't expect a lot of volume, but he is that other guy there in Carolina, and everybody gets a chance while Christian McCaffrey is out. On the Dallas side, it's much easier with starts. You go Dak, you go CeeDee Lamb, you go with Zeke. Dalton Schultz, I think, is now, better than a streaming tight end. And Amari Cooper, assuming he's healthy, you play him. But Chris, he's been active and targeted and getting the volume. But this was my concern. I won't get into this too much because Bobby and I can bicker over all these postseason. My concern with him coming into the year was a foot injury. Mm-hmm. Well, now we have a rib situation. He's had lower body injuries his entire career. Amari Cooper is a top 10 receiver, in my opinion, talent-wise, when he's right. But he's not right very often. CeeDee Lamb is that number 1 for me. Even if he's active and whatever, do you trust against, again, Carolina's defense, whether they played great teams or not, have been pretty stout. Do you trust Amari Cooper, who has laid up two eggs after bombing in week 1?
Probably not. I agree with you, Sky. Cooper's kind of been on our don't draft, bust every year after year. And dude, he's a little bit like the Joe Mixon of wide receivers in that, like, he has insane potential. He has incredible boom upside. He can put up 35, maybe 40 points on any given week. But then every couple of weeks, he'll give you a stretch of like 8 points, 12 points, 10 points. And you're sitting there like, dude, I drafted you to put up 15 minimum a week and you're just not getting it. So look, again, I think that I always, whenever we get like starts or sits questions for the Commish and we're talking to someone and, we have a good relationship with them, we know their team pretty well. I always tell them, if you think that the team that you're playing is as advertised, then do what you think is best. So if you think they're good, don't play Cooper. If you don't think that the Panthers are good and they're a product of the environment of the teams that they played, which aren't very good, then play Cooper and see where the chips fall.
Man, Dalton Schultz, willing to stream him this week?
I think so. I'm fine with Dalton Schultz. There's not a lot of good tight ends right now, so he's got a lot of good upside. He could find the end zone this week.
Absolutely. And of course, we're starting Zeke. Tony Pollard.
Last week, if you asked me, I would have said yes. This week, I don't think so. I think you got to go with Zeke.
And it was clearly the Zeke show on Sunday
last week. I know, dude. It's so hard to tell because watch this week, it'll be all Pollard, and we'll be like
Monday night. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And it could be, but again, I don't. When they need Zeke, it's Zeke. I think they just might monitor him in the first half. If the game's close or whatever, they're running the clock, it's going to be Zeke late. Tony Pollard could rip off a big run though and whatever, but Zeke is still that guy. Okay, again, if you're tuning in on the comments section, we appreciate it. I see some of you jumping in here. I'm a Chris Benevides of the Commish Fantasy Football Podcast. We're going to jump into your questions at the end. We're going to run through all the Sunday slate, including Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, and then we're going to get into our TCK Listener League roster sets as well. And then at the very end, we'll go through some questions. So if you're asking now, we will not answer your question until the end of the episode. So please stick around, or feel free to hit me up in DM on Twitter at my handle, Sky Guasco, or you can hit up Chris Benevides for a fresh take as well at the Commish, COMMISH FFP on Twitter as well. All right, Chris, let's get into the next one here. Colts and Dolphins, 1.5 over under, 14.5 total. This is not a high score there. Vegas is not loving this game. Carson Wentz has lost 7 straight starts, longest streak of his career. Again, playing on 2 sprained ankles. He was out there last week, but not mobile at all. He's not good enough, in my opinion, to not be mobile. He's good when he's mobile, but he's not mobile, and he's not good enough in the pocket, in my opinion, to not be mobile. Jonathan Taylor, questionable in this game. Quentin Nelson, out in this game. Nyheim Hines has stepped up in a major way so far. Michael Pittman, 24 targets in the last 2 games. Jack Doyle, questionable, probably not going to play. Mo Alley Cox is a deep stream if you need it. Zach Pascal, kind of touchdown or bust slot receiver there. On the other side, the Dolphins, Jacoby Brissett got it done versus the Raiders late, forced overtime, played pretty well. But the run game, I'm not interested in. Will Fuller came up nicked up last week, but he should play this week. Devontae Parker, whatever. Jalen Waddle is your volume guy. Mike Gesicki had 10 targets plus last week. A lot of question marks in this game, man, and unfortunately, I'm just not very excited about it.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with the Dolphins here. Jacoby Brissett did play great last week. He actually finishes the overall QB 12. So in a streaming league, Jacoby Brissett might be able to get it done. Like the Colts are not playing very well on defense right now. So if you want to stream Brissett and you don't really have a lot of good options at the moment, then Brissett could be your guy. I actually do like the rushing game right now. I would take Myles Gaskin if I need a flex in sort of a deeper league. But I also think, Waddle and Gesicki are kind of automatics at the moment. So I think you fire them both up, fire up Gaskin. And then the only guy that I'm playing on the Colts right now is Michael Pittman. I guess I'm fine with starting Hines, but dude, like JT, he's averaging like 10 points a game right now. And you drafted him as maybe your RB5 overall. Mm-hmm. So he's, I think was it like running back 28 or something on the season. Dude, I don't know what to do with that guy. I don't know what you do with him in fantasy. Your guess is as good as mine at this point.
Yeah, maybe just wait it out. Now, your boy Damian Harris for the Patriots ripped off a hundo against the Dolphins just a couple of weeks ago, so that might help. And with Carson Wentz not able to be who he is, maybe they rely on the run, but without Quentin Nelson, I think that's a problem. So I'm okay starting Jonathan Taylor because I just can't imagine the options you might have to replace him. But he's your RB2 flex expectation versus bona fide top 10 running back expectation. And I like Hines here as well. Chris, I think I just realized we skipped over the picks for Panthers and Cowboys. That's my bad. So let's double back quickly. I'm going to go Cowboys here at home. Who do you have, Panthers or Cowboys in that one?
Yeah, I'm taking Carolina. I'm taking the upset.
Okay. Riding the hot hand. Yeah. I like that. Man, you got the Panthers crushing over the Cowboys. I like that. It's a bold one there. That's an upset. I like that. And then we got the Colts and the Dolphins. Who are you going with in this one?
Yeah, I'll take the Dolphins.
Dolphins. Okay. I am going to go with the Miami Dolphins as well. Doubling back to last week, we had just really quick. We don't go through all of our picks. Chris and I both ended up 10-6, a different 10-6, but we had 10 wins and 6 misses. I picked the Chargers over the Chiefs. That was my upset. I picked the Bengals over the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. That was my upset. And then Chris picked the Minnesota Vikings over the Seattle Seahawks. That was his upset there as well. So we'll see if some of these other underdogs can get it done. All right, let's go to the Browns. Shouts out to my Brownies. Had to rock the cap today. And the Vikings. Browns, 2-point favorite, 51.5 over under. I like that quite a bit. Odell Beckham comes back, looks fresh. I like him moving forward. Baker Mayfield, fine. He's a streamer. Super flex, you fire him up. Nick Chubb didn't get a touchdown, but he's Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt, I think, is Bobby and I go back and forth on this, but Kareem Hunt for me is a start if you need a flex. And then everybody else I'm sitting. I can't trust any of the tight ends. So if you're streaming, I guess it's Hooper, but it could be anybody. And on the other side with the Vikings, if Cook plays, you play him. If he doesn't, you play Madison, obviously. Thielen, Jefferson, automatic. Conklin, hit or miss. And then Cousins, man, again, elevating him from preseason super flex to do we start him as a streamer in single quarterback leagues going up against this Browns secondary?
So Kirk Cousins is graded the number 1 quarterback in the NFL with a clean pocket. Now, here's the thing. I don't think he's going to get many clean pockets this game. So, so that's the only
8
caveat.
sacks last week for the Browns versus the Bears.
Yeah. So that's the only caveat. Minnesota is ranked 17th in pass blocking and 19th in run blocking. The Browns are actually also ranked 3rd in run defense overall. So I think the Vikings are going to have a bit of a tough time on the offensive side of the ball. Right now, though, Dalvin Cook is questionable, but he's put together back-to-back practices on a limited basis, but that's a positive sign that he is at practice. So I actually do think Dalvin will probably start. I don't know if he's going to start in a limited capacity, which kind of hurts Madison's shares. So if you had Madison, you were thinking about starting him, but Dalvin Cook is suiting up, then maybe you want to reconsider because Cook will probably see some playing time. This is kind of a must-win for the Vikings, given how they started off a little bit rocky, but got a good win over the Seahawks. They need to win this game. But I do think the Browns end up pulling this one off just because they're a better overall team. So the only other guy that I think you could start with pretty good confidence is Baker Mayfield. Minnesota's defense isn't playing very well. So
Minnesota at home started 0-2 and get the win last week. But as you said, they lost 2 games by field goals. So again, they're 2 kicks away basically from 3-0 also.
Yeah.
They're playing very well, and so are the Browns. This will be a sneak attack game there. Interesting stat here. The Vikings have won 5 of the last 6 games versus the Browns. Now, AFC, NFC, these teams rarely play each other over, 4-year period. And let's not forget, just a couple years ago, they were the Browns of old. So not surprising, but I thought that was interesting that the Vikings have won 5 of the last 6 there over the Brownies. All right, Chris, so final pick you are going to go with?
I'm going with Cleveland.
I'm going to go with Cleveland as well. Let's move on to the Giants and the Saints. Saints home favorite by 7.5. This one seems steep. Now, last year, Drew Brees Saints makes sense. The who knows what you're going to get Jameis Saints, 7.5 at home against an unpredictable Giants team. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts here because you're a big time Daniel Jones guy, so I want to hear this. 7.5 at home, 43 over under. That's very low. Stat of the game here: 6 of 8 games have been lost by the Giants to NFC South opponents. Of course, that's the Bucks, Falcons, and Panthers, as well as the Saints. So with the Giants here, man, Daniel Jones playing very well as long as he doesn't turn the ball over. Saquon Barkley ascending. I don't think it breaks out versus the Saints because they're very good against the run, but Saquon is on his way. You might have one more week to get shares if you haven't yet. Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton both out in this game. Marshawn Lattimore, stud cornerback, shutdown corner for the Saints, probably will shadow Kenny Golladay. So Evan Engram, if he's healthy, might be the option here. Kadarius Toney might even show up, the rookie out of Florida who we haven't heard from yet this year. Keep an eye there. And on the Saints, Jameis is hit or miss in super flex. You roll with Alvin Kamara. And then Marquez Callaway, I think, is hit or miss as well. And then the tight ends are also hit or miss. So I'm not really excited about anybody on the Saints other than Alvin Kamara. And then on the Giants, I think you might actually be able to find some sneak attack DFS names.
Yeah. So the Giants are going to be without Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, which means they are hoping Kenny Golladay plays. Right now he has a hip problem and he's been favoring the hip.
That wide receiver core is similar to the Niners running backs. For the last 3 years, I feel one of those guys is always out. 2 of them, maybe, if you count Evan Engram in there and Saquon, the Giants have been a mess in the pass game as much as the Niners have in the run.
Yeah, it's brutal, dude. And so, if Kenny Golladay doesn't play, I don't know where Daniel Jones throws the ball to. So you might end up seeing a lot of, I don't know, they're gonna have some weird ass plays for Saquon, but it's gonna be like the Saquon Evan Engram show, assuming Evan Engram plays. If Kenny Golladay plays, I think you have to start him because there's nowhere else to go with the ball. So and by the way, you are correct. Like the Saints are very good in run defense. Like they're rated number 1 overall on PFF for run defense, but they're actually like almost second to last in pressure on the quarterback. So so
they just don't blitz very often. That's kind of that's a strange stat to read because it doesn't mean their defensive line isn't very good. They just aren't a blitzing team very often. So they don't have a lot of that pressure. They just stuff you and then play man defense, and they're very good at it.
Yeah, exactly. That's correct. And so, look, Daniel Jones has been playing a very conservative season. He's been playing well because he's not turning the ball over, but he's also not winning games, which is a big problem in an NFL standpoint. And obviously it's not great from a fantasy standpoint, but he's good enough right now to be QB 12 overall on the season. So Dude, I think you fire up Saquon. You probably have to fire up Kenny Golladay if he's playing, and then Evan Ingram as your tight end. And then on the Saints side, look, I ended up dropping Jameis Winston this week in my home league, and it kills me because I like him. I like watching Jameis just from like a personality standpoint. But that guy kills me, man. But yeah, Alvin Kamara is I think the only startable guy this week. The Giants defense isn't so bad, so I am taking the Saints to win, but could be a little bit closer than we think it is. It could be like a low scoring. I actually think that over under 43 is about right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to pick the Saints too because they're at home. I think the Giants will cover here, and I don't talk a lot of spreads on this show. We just do pick'ems. But Chris, can you give a shout out to the boys for Commish bets if people want some spread talk?
Yeah, so if you want some spread talk and some entertainment while you're at it, go check out Alex and Desmond over at the Commish Bets on our podcast, the Commish Fantasy Football Podcast. They are running our Commish Bets episodes. It is extremely fun to listen to because the guys have known each other for such a long time. But they also kind of give their takes on the breakdowns of spreads. So overall, it's very entertaining, very fun. It's a nice, lighthearted way to get your picks throughout the week.
And they put in legitimate bets as well. So if you're into betting on games, betting on lines, betting on props, they do it for real. So their money's on the line as well. Feel free to check out our boys, Alex and Desi, over at the Commish Bets. Absolute must listen podcast every week. All right. I think it's going to be close. I'll take probably 43 is about right there, but I'll take the Giants to cover. I don't think they lose by more than a touchdown there. Okay, let's move on to the Titans and the Jets. The Jets are 0-4 after a shutout. They get shut out last week versus the Broncos. They're 0-4 after a shutout since 2014. The fact that they've been shut out that many times in an NFL franchise is absolutely disturbing, unfortunately. Titans, road favorites here, 7.5, 46 over under. Now, this one is tricky here, Chris. A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are out. There's a long list of, third, fourth, eighth string receivers, my boy Josh Reynolds included, who might be DFS guys, but I wouldn't pick them up in the redraft leagues for the wide receivers. Derrick Henry will probably have 30 carries in this game for 280 yards.
In the first half?
Right. Well, I was getting there. And then he picks it up to 35 carries and 400 yards in the second half. So play Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill's the legitimate question.
Yeah.
Anthony Ferkser, if he can come through, maybe a couple of these scrub wide receivers. And I say scrubs, obviously they're much more talented at football than I am at anything. But in relation to A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, they're a distant third, fourth, fifth string guys. Do you trust Ryan Tannehill? Now it's the Jets. Right? Teddy B just ripped them up, and I still don't think Teddy Bridgewater's that amazing. Do you trust Ryan Tannehill to just get it done versus the Jets, or is this a trap game and you look somewhere else for, like, let's say, a Daniel Jones?
No, I actually think if you need in a Superflex league, I definitely think you start Ryan Tannehill. I don't think you have to shy away from him in a one QB league. Maybe you go somewhere else. But dude, I'm actually saying start Chester Rogers this week. Like, I actually think he's going to have a pretty solid game. He's, I think, projected like 13 points in PPR. He could see himself, 8 targets, 9 targets for, 6 receptions in like 70 something yards and a touchdown. That'll get it done from a wide receiver standpoint in fantasy. And as long as Tannehill doesn't turn the ball over and picks himself up like a touchdown or two, 250 yards, I think he'll be just fine. You'll actually probably see a lot of balls thrown to Derrick Henry this week. Yeah. So a little tidbit for everyone. I know, look, you can't get Derrick Henry on anybody's team if you don't have him. And if you have Derrick Henry, well, mazel tov, you're going to win the league. So just a little tidbit for everybody. This is the first time in history in Derrick Henry's life where he's had 3 consecutive games or more with at least 3 catches ever. He's never had that in his life. So no Julio Jones, no A.J. Brown. Derrick Henry is a very underrated pass catcher in the NFL. They're going to feed him the ball, I think, in the air this week.
I totally agree. And this is a different offense here for the Titans than we've seen for quite a while. So Derrick Henry's going to smash. We're going to get to all the questions at the end, but there was one in particular from Self on Twitch. are you playing Derrick Henry in Fanduel with that expensive tag? And I'll move that over to DraftKings as well. Derrick Henry is going to be the most expensive running back on the slate with Christian McCaffrey out. He will be pretty chalk. If you do that, you obviously, you handcuff the rest of your lineup. But I do think if you're doing multiple lineups, I would do like a quarter of my lineups with Derrick Henry in it, but I would not put him in all of them. Here's the deal. Legitimately, if he blows up the way that we all kind of joke that he will, that we've seen him do, he might have 250 in 3 quarters and they just take him out.
Yeah.
And that actually hurts your, especially DFS. In redraft, you get your score, you move on. In DFS, that can almost hurt you. So I do think you play him. It is worth it. But if you have multiple lineups, I would temper expectations. We'll make it quick on the other side, Chris. Jamison Crowder might come back. None of these running backs have been impressive yet. Obviously, Zach Wilson's not ready yet. Is there anybody on the Jets squad you'd be comfortable with? Corey Davis has been shut down the last 2 weeks, but one of them was Bill Belichick, so we throw that out. And the other one was this Broncos secondary that's incredible. Do you think Corey Davis can bounce back with that great rapport early in the season? And then Denzel Mims might play too. Are you comfortable with anybody else in this offense? For me, it's only Corey Davis.
Yeah, dude, I literally wrote down Corey Davis's name and that's it. So I think
okay.
I think you can start Corey Davis if you need him. I mean, he did kind of get clamped last week, but what did he have? He had 10 targets. I have here, and that's not. Sorry, he had 10 targets. So in a non-PPR, he had 4.1 points. In PPR, he had 9.1 points. But 10 targets, I mean, he's their go-to guy. So that's fine with me.
Got it. All right, I'm going to go Tennessee big.
Yeah, agreed. Tennessee.
All right, let's move on here to the Kansas City Chiefs, who are just reeling. Absolutely downward spiral, out of control franchise here with the Kansas City Chiefs. 1-2 on the season. Go up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who looked horrendous against the Cowboys on Monday night. Something has got to give here, and I think we all know what it is. Kansas City has allowed 31.7 points per game this season, tied for the most in the entire NFL. So here's what you need to think about. The Super Bowl season when they beat my Niners, when Jimmy blew it, which we don't talk about, the Chiefs also had an incredible defense down the stretch. Last year, when they played the Buccaneers, defense was okay, but the offense was just so incredible. This year, the offense is not as incredible. It's still better than, 25 of the 32 teams, but it's not as incredible yet. And that defense is terrible. Like, they're giving up points. And Jalen Hurts, for his credit, the Eagles played terrible against the Cowboys, but in the second half, he did move the ball. And I don't think they're going to score with the Chiefs. But if the Chiefs continue to flunder or have these silly turnovers or Tyreek Hill gets taken out of a game, Chris, which doesn't make sense, I don't think the Eagles have a chance to win the game, but the Chiefs might not explode the way that we think, at Philadelphia, right? This is a road game here for the Chiefs. So this is kind of a sneaky. I would take the under at 54.5. I don't think the Chiefs cover by 7, but I do think they win the game. You start your studs with the Chiefs. I know Tyreek's been tough. You cannot sit Tyreek Hill because when you do, he's going to go off for 200 yards. You start everybody. CEH, I think now is a start for me. On the other side, the Eagles, you play Jalen Hurts. I think just the upside of rushing. He still has 24 fantasy points in every game. Otherwise, I've been off on Miles Sanders. I'm going to continue to stay there. Dallas Goedert, I'll play, but Zach Ertz was the one that caught the touchdown last week. What do you do with the wide receivers? Very confusing here for Philadelphia.
Yeah, so me and Alex talked a little bit about the Chiefs on our last episode, and we basically kind of put it in terms of poker, and the Chiefs look like they're playing on tilt right now. And they have all the chips. They still have all the chips on the table, but they're not betting properly, and they're just playing on tilt. It's almost like someone called their bluff, and for some reason, they've not been able to get back to playing properly. And it could have been the fact that, they lost to the Bucs the way they did. And this is last year. They snuck away from the Browns in a game that they could have lost. They come back in 20. They should have lost. They come back in 2021 and almost lose to the Browns again, right? By 3 points. And then they basically lose 2 more games. So, since the playoffs last year, the Chiefs haven't been playing very well. And to your point, dude, their defense is atrocious. They're literally ranked last in the NFL according to PFF, and that's awful. They're playing terrible defense. So when the offense doesn't play that well and the defense is even worse, you got a recipe for not so good, dude. This could be a trap game. I'm still taking KC to win because I can't bet against them. Alex said, for you basketball people out there, Alex is they're like the
Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. They're like the Warriors. They have all the talent, but they can lose games. This could be a trap game. Now, look, we're going to talk about the Eagles real quick. You mentioned they kind of look terrible. I actually wrote down that I think they actually played pretty respectably against Dallas. They're clearly the inferior team to Dallas, right? They don't have as many weapons. They're not as good on defense. But Jalen Hurts is a grinder, dude. The more and more I watch him play, the more I think this guy, when he figures out how to pass the ball properly, how to game manage properly, he's going to actually be a very good quarterback in the NFL. So, assuming Deshaun Watson doesn't end up in Philadelphia. So let's not get into that. But my point here is that I actually think the Eagles, while they probably won't beat the Chiefs, could keep this competitive. If it wasn't for like that pick six that Dallas had, it could have been a better game than it looked. And by the way, that pick six to me, in my eyes, should have been at least a blocked pass because I think the wide receiver fell on that play. So that's what it looked like to me. The wide receiver fell and then Diggs took it off and went to the house. So my point is that I think Jalen Hurts keeps it close, and I think the Chiefs could be in for a tougher matchup than they think. It's a hostile environment over there in Philly. And so, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know what to say about the Chiefs right now. They're playing on tilt. That's the best I got.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. I heard Alex bring that up as well. And as a Warrior fan, I mean, there were some games, especially in the playoffs, where you're just like, what the hell? Like they should win by 80 and they lose. Yeah. Again, I think they win the game. I can't imagine the Chiefs lose 3 in a row, but nobody thought they would lose to the Ravens and certainly not the Chargers if you're not a Herbert guy like Alex and I are. All right, so we're both going KC, but we think it's going to be closer here. That's going to be interesting there. And Chris, I like your breakdown there. I'm going to dive into that a little bit more because they should have lost to the Browns, did lose to the Bucks, should have lost to the Browns again, did lose to the Ravens, did lose to the Chargers. Literally in the last 5 games for the Chiefs, dating back to last year, they're 2 or 3 plays away from being 0-5.
Yeah,
which now, if you think about it that way, man, it's and look out for the Raiders running the division. Yikes! All right, let's move on here. We got a couple games left. We'll take a quick break and then we'll get into TCK listener leagues. Appreciate you if you're sticking around here and you're live on the show. We're with Chris Benevides of the Commish Fantasy Football Podcast. Okay, let's dive into the Rams and the Cardinals. The Rams 4.5 favorites here, 55 over under. I believe that's the highest on the slate for the week. Makes sense. Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp and company have been absolutely on fire so far, if you're not Robert Woods. And on the other side, the Cardinals, everybody except for DeAndre Hopkins has been on fire here for the Cardinals as well. So, Chris, tons of star power, tons of fantasy football, elite names, lots of options here. Let's just run it down the gamut here. Kyler's automatic. We'll start with the Cardinals. Kyler's automatic. Nuke Hopkins, man, he's been questionable, didn't practice at all last week, limited this week, did play, but A.J. Green was the guy. Then you have Christian Kirk, and Rondale Moore came back down to earth, but we know what he can do. Chase Edmonds is the lead dog, but James Conner's the one getting the touchdowns. Are you comfortable? There's a lot of guys to start here. Who are you comfortable with, though? Let's go start sits through the roster. Kyler's automatic. Nuke Hopkins against probably Jalen Ramsey. They have a lot of history. Starter sit Nuke Hopkins.
Yeah, I think if he plays, you have to start him. You can't sit Nuke Hopkins. He actually plays just fine against Jalen Ramsey last year. He had 8 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown for 19.2 fantasy points. And then the week after that, he actually kind of got clamped. He had 10 targets for only 4 receptions and 35 yards for just 7.5 points. Look, in general, he's usually matchup proof. Obviously, the only concern is that he's a bit injured. He's on track to play, so if he does play, I think you got to start him here.
Okay, Fraggy is our boy. It's Fragger on YouTube. Big time follower, and shouts out to Fragger. He did have a question here, so I'll just jump into it. Basically, it was, do I start Godwin or Debo over Hopkins, who's playing against Ramsey? So he had another question, which we'll get to later. But Chris, quickly, your boy Godwin, Debo Samuel, or Nuke Hopkins against Ramsey? I'm probably going to go Godwin, actually.
Godwin's probably the safest play, I think. Yeah, I agree with you. I'd probably go in order: Godwin, Hopkins, Debo. But it's very close, though. That's a close matchup. Look, put it this way, my dude, you have a good problem.
Yeah, I agree. I would also do that as well. I'm going to go Godwin, Hopkins, Samuel, Fragger as well. We'll get your other question later, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, Chase Edmonds, James Conner. You play you play Chase Edmonds, but can you play James Conner?
Dude, I actually think in a deeper league, you have to play James Conner. I actually think the Cardinals need all weapons available. They're going to use everybody to win this game. If they want to win this game and stay up with the Rams, it's going to be high scoring, which is why the line is over under 55. It might be higher than that. Even though both teams have great defenses, it actually could be a lot like, what was it? The Rams and 49ers a couple of years back when it was
Thursday
like,
Night Football was like, 40-40
oh,
or something.
it was the Chiefs or something like that,
Yeah.
right? It was like one of those,
Chiefs.
It was the
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
It was 50 over 50 each.
Well, yeah, they scored like fucking 100 points combined. So I'm not saying it's going to be that much, but I think they both have to score a lot of points. So I'm fine in a deeper league if you want to play Connor.
Rank these receivers: Rondale Moore, AJ Green, Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk, toss up between Moore or Green.
Okay, Moore has the volume and after ability. Green has the
legacy.
Well, and the touchdown upside there. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Rams side here. Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford automatics. Henderson should play this week. He's questionable. Anticipates to play. If he doesn't play, well, if he does play, do you play him? If he doesn't, are you comfortable with Sony Michel?
I'm fine with it. I'm actually pretty fine with playing Sony Michel if you need him. So that works for me.
Okay. Whoever's active in the starter, you play that guy. If Henderson's active, do you play Sony still?
Probably, because I don't know how. I mean, we don't know enough about Henderson's situation, so I think I'm fine playing Sony again.
Okay, and then Tyler Higby, I think, is a must start. This is going to be a high flying game, and again, you have a tight end with top option and ability. You play Tyler Higby. The question is going to be Robert Woods, man. It's just like the Allen Robinson question, right? It's a guy you draft in the 3rd round, 4th round. He's supposed to be your PPR Julian Edelman, where he gets 7 catches for 70 yards every week, and maybe hopefully he scores, but he doesn't have to. He and Robinson have been horrendous, right?
Yeah.
The difference is Robinson isn't even getting the targets anymore. He got 11 in week 1 and was still bad. Woods is at least getting the work. It's just been all Cooper Kupp. Do you think this would be a game that Robert Woods can pop off, and are you comfortable playing him?
We've seen him do it. I don't know. This year, we just haven't. What is he? He had 12 points, and 7 points in PPR. And if it wasn't for his touchdown in week 1, it could have been a lot worse. So, dude, your guess is as good as mine with Robert Woods. I mean, if you have another option, I guess you don't play Robert Woods. Dude, Cooper Kupp is the guy. It's very obvious where Matt Stafford wants to put the ball. He just like looks at Cooper Kupp and just floats out of his hand to Cooper Kupp. He doesn't even like throw anymore. I think it just gets to there like telepathy.
And Cooper Kupp is just so good, dude. He had those 2 terrible injuries a couple of years ago, but damn, he's just like smooth. He's gritty. He catches shit over the middle. He's a deep threat, touchdown upside, yards after catch. Dude's just fun to watch, man. He's like George Kittle at wide receiver. Dude, but he catches touchdowns.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to know if you guys do want to go to the Commish bet side and listen to Desmond and Alex, So Desmond can say things a little bit more risque, let's say, than maybe you or I could. So Desmond's black, and he can say some of these things. And he said on the pod, dude, I was fucking rolling. He went and said, Cooper Kupp is breaking barriers for all white receivers right now. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. But he's funny. He can say that. So I laughed and chuckled. So he had some fun with it. But Cooper Kupp is that guy right now. So good for him.
He absolutely is, man. Number 1 wide receiver, number 1 overall player, including quarterbacks in full PPR leagues, which is absolutely phenomenal. All right, Chris, big game here, man. Both teams at 3-0. 49ers and Seahawks fans want both of these teams to lose. Unless they tie, one of them's got to win. Who is it?
I'm taking the 49ers.
Rams and Cardinals.
Oh, sorry. I thought we had moved on, man. My fault. I'm taking the Rams in this one.
Rams in this one. I'm going to go Rams too. I lean home, and Matt Stafford has just been on fire. So I lean that way too. It's a divisional game, though. You never know. The Rams have won 8 straight versus the Cardinals over the last 4 years. All right, we'll move on to those 49ers. We got your pick. You're going to go Niners. I'll save mine for just a little bit. We talked about George Kittle. Look, man, Tyler Lockett. Okay, this is the big Tyler Lockett and George Kittle are the big questions here in this game. We'll start with the Seahawks. Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Chris Carson, automatics. Gerald Everett hurt in this game. Will Disley, if you're super streaming, fine. But it's Carson, Wilson, DK, automatics. Tyler Lockett got rolled up last week. I thought it came out as an ankle injury. His injury designation, though, is his hip. So it's either the hip and not the ankle, or it's both. Either way, Tyler Lockett's a smaller guy, obviously completely dominant. Him and Russell Wilson have a connection, top 5 connection in the NFL, obviously. But he's a smaller receiver. So an injury goes a lot longer with a guy like Tyler Lockett. Been very durable over his career. I'm not saying I expect him to miss time or lengthy even if he misses this game. He could miss this game, though. If he does, DK to the moon. Nobody on the Niners can cover him like Devontae Adams went nuts last week. If he plays, we do know that he's somewhat banged up and questionable, Chris. Tyler Lockett has been absolutely phenomenal this season. If he is active, are you playing him against the Niners? I probably would not personally.
Yeah. I mean, that feels like that Keenan Allen game last year on Thursday Night Football where
start me
me to the camera.
Fire me up.
So everyone's fucking starting him, and then
I'm good to go, guys. Don't worry about me.
2 snaps later, he's on the bench. He's not playing. So, yeah, it could be one of those scenarios. I probably wouldn't start Tyler Lockett here.
Okay. Russell Wilson, 15-4 record against the 49ers, including the playoffs. Hate that stat. Terrible. Russell was 15-4 against my Niners. It's tough. And 3 of those wins for the Niners came last year. So not been good for the Niners over the years. Let's go to San Francisco here. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Dude, I think he's playing fine. Is it
me? He's the perfect quarterback for what they need him to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be good, which is great news for Jimmy. But he's able to just like step back, get scared, fire off to anybody on his team 2 yards off the line of scrimmage and have them bulldoze for 14 yards, which is what Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle are the best in the league at.
Yeah.
Running backs, they don't have any left. Elijah Mitchell, who blew up a couple weeks ago, he got hurt, and then he's questionable now. Worried about him. Trey Sermon was active, scored a touchdown, saved fantasy managers, but he wasn't very impressive. They picked up a bunch of guys off the streets, but none of those guys are good. Until they bring Frank Gore back, I don't want a 49er running back. I know it's a prestigious position in fantasy football to have the Niners running back, but it's too unpredictable. And as a fan who watches every play, it's a complete pain in the ass. I don't want that. Wide receiver wise, if Deebo's healthy, you play him. If Ayuk is healthy and plays, you play him. His snap percentage has gone up. He was in the doghouse week 1. He's getting better. And against Seattle, you can throw the ball. They're going to need him. I like Ayuk in this game, caught a touchdown last week. George Kittle, legit questionable in this game. If he doesn't play, the wide receivers are a must start. Ross Dwelly, who nobody knows. Ross Dwelly would be the backup. I'm not playing him. Last year, Jordan Reed stepped in a couple games. He was okay till he got hurt. I'm just not going to play Ross Dwelly. And then Jimmy takes a downgrade if he can go any further down there. But until Trey Lance comes in here, I'm not super fired up for fantasy on the Niners. How about you?
Yeah. Deebo still had the most targets, I believe, outside of Kittle in terms of receptions. But
he's the clear one, including Kittle on the team right now.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. I'm happy Ayuk made it to the game. It's good to see him, suit up and play some football. And I'm not sure, though, if I would start him. So, again, if Kittle plays, you have to start. Obviously, you start Kittle, you start Deebo. I'm probably still sitting Ayuk. I want to see more of that before I start him. I think Elijah Mitchell is trending towards playing. I think we have to see what the injury report says. I don't know if it's come out today.
I just have him as questionable so far. So we'll see. I mean,
we
still have the weekend to go. But
yeah, exactly. And I wrote here, just, see what happens over the weekend. But I have him as trending towards playing from what I've been reading. So I think you got to fire up all of available options on the 49ers in the offensive scenario. Dude, Seattle's defense has been terrible. They're 8th in passing yards allowed, the 3rd in rushing yards allowed. So they're not playing very good on the defensive side. That's why I'm picking the 49ers to win. And then obviously on the Seahawks side, like you got to play DK Metcalf. And then I just probably wouldn't play Tyler Lockett, even if he does suit up. But dude, again, that's going to be like a Sunday morning, wake up and read what the newspapers say on Tyler Lockett. If he's like out there practicing and you see him running routes before the game starts and he looks good and the reports have come back and he looks fine, then maybe you give it a go if he needs some upside.
You could wake up at 4 a.m. and give your paper boy a cup of hot Joe, or you could tune in on Sunday morning for 3 hours prior to kickoff, stream live right here on YouTube for our start sit show, fantasy focus style, 3 hours prior to kickoff. We got all your questions, injury updates, player trends. We got you covered on Tyler Lockett and everyone else. All right, man. My pick is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. Last week, I went with the Niners just because I'm a Niner fan and I tried to like manifest my homerism to beat Rodgers. But deep down, I said that I didn't think they had a chance because nobody could cover Devontae Adams. Nobody on the 49ers can cover DK Metcalf. This I think will be his breakout. This will be the like, oh yeah, he's really fucking good. This will be the game for DK Metcalf here. Unfortunately for the Niners, they're a 2.5 point favorite. I'll take the Seahawks to cover that, if not win outright. And 52 over under, I'll take the under on that. I think it's the old slobber knocker, as they call it. All right, a couple games left. Ravens, Broncos. Broncos 1 point home favorite. This line has gone back and forth. It opened at -1 for the Broncos, moved to the Ravens. I've got it as the Broncos right now, but it's basically a pick 'em 45 over under here. Teddy B and Lamar Jackson going at it. Both of them went to Louisville, of course, here. Ravens, Marvin Jackson, Lamar Jackson, bruised ribs, questionable, but he should play. Tyson Williams, my start of the week last week, completely bombed. Hollywood Brown dropped 2, if not 3 touchdowns. Mark Andrews, you have to play him every single week. On the other side with the Broncos, Teddy B's playing well, but they haven't played anybody, as you mentioned earlier. Cortland Sutton, a dominant number 1. Tim Patrick, a nice number 2. Melvin Gordon, also questionable. If he misses this game, Javonte Williams all day long, even against the Ravens. How do you feel about these squads?
Yeah. I think the Ravens end up pulling this one off, but I don't think they do it in a particularly clean fashion. Dude, their team, and Desmond actually talked about this on the Bets episode, and I agree with him 100%. That team is Lamar Jackson. If you put another quarterback on that team is 0-3, 0-4. They're not very good, and it's pretty obvious. Like, dude, Marquise Brown. I mean, he's what, AB's brother, cousin, right? Isn't he like Antonio Brown's cousin? Okay, no wonder why he's his cousin, because if he was his brother, he would have caught those balls. So something happened in the lineage where he drops passes, and it's fucking killing me. All right, if you can tell, I have Lamar Jackson on one of my teams. So point is that this is going to be won primarily by Lamar Jackson. I just think in general the Broncos have played well, but they haven't played anybody that well. So I don't think they have enough on their resume to show that they're a good team. I do think the Ravens are a good team. So they get right this week. And yeah, I from a fantasy perspective, I mean, you got to start Cortland Sutton, you got to start Noah Fant. But I mean, Baltimore's defense hasn't been playing particularly well. So yeah, fire up Broncos. I mean, I have no problem starting Teddy Bridgewater, but outside of Lamar Jackson, if you need Marquise Brown, but he's got to fucking get rid of the yips. So,
yep. I'm going to go Mark Andrews there too.
And Mark Andrews. Yeah, of course. He's
all right. Pick him. You got who?
I'm going to go with the Ravens, but just barely.
Okay. I'm going to go the other side. I'll go Broncos just barely. 3 games left here. We got the Steelers and the Packers. 6.5 point favorite at home for the Packers. 45.5 over under. I think the Packers cover, and maybe this is more than 45.5 if Ben could play any football here. Steelers looked absolutely horrendous. All the jokes from Ben thrown to ghosts. I get it. Whatever. Juju got hurt. Claypool got hurt. Deontay didn't play. Najee Harris, 19 targets. That'll never happen again. That was insane. You throw that out. Going up against the Packers, you start Rodgers, you start Jones, you start Adams. I think you even start Tunyon if you need to stream there. Deontay should come back. Juju should come back. Claypool now is the one injured. You start Najee. I don't even think you can stream Big Ben here. At Lambeau, it's a road game, so you don't want Ben anyway. How do you feel about this one?
Dude, I don't think the Steelers want any part of the Packers right now. That team,
no, they don't.
That team looks awful. I don't even know where to start with that team. Chase Claypool has a hamstring problem. Juju's on pace to start, but he doesn't look very good.
TJ Watt was out last week too, so they got to get him back.
Yeah, Najee, I guess, is the only player that I feel comfortable starting. But dude, I don't know. What do you say about this team? I actually think you could see some AJ Dillon in this game, depending on how much this game could get out of hand. Like, that's how scared I am for the Steelers. Mike Tomlin's, out here doing coaches speak, saying, he's not panicking. They're gonna find their way. All this stuff. Bro, they're fucking lost. I don't know what ship he's fucking sailing, but that team is lost. They're so bad. They're making mistakes. Like, you would never see Tom Brady making the mistakes Big Ben is making. He is a fucking veteran. There's no way he threw into quadruple coverage once. And Juju just didn't do anything about it. He just kind of just parked himself inside of a Cincinnati fucking team meeting or wherever they played last week, and just sat there, didn't move, didn't do anything. And it's just very frustrating because that team is better than what they're playing. They just look like they don't want to be in the NFL. I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
dude, they started 11-0 last year and they got beat by Washington football team, right? After that, they completely went down the drain. And then Ben was like, we don't want to end that way. He lost to the Browns, who he's dominated for 20 years. The Browns beat him up twice in back-to-back weeks, eliminated him for the playoffs. He was like, you know what? I don't want to end like that. They pick up everybody's favorite running back in the 24th pick, first round. Say what you want about first-round running backs, but Najee's a beast. And it was like, okay, we got Big Ben. We got all the wide receivers. Our defense were good. They look terrible. They look bad. And last week they were losing 3 of their best players. Juju, Deontay, and TJ Watt were hurt. Okay, I'm going to give them that. But nonetheless, they looked very, very bad and uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree, man. There's no words for it because they should be better. You should not be losing games the way they lost. Like, it's just awful. I think there's only one game in my life where I've watched the Patriots play at that level, and it was the Kansas City Chiefs game. Remember that? Everyone remembers that game.
It was the Kareem Hunt game.
Yes, it was the Kareem Hunt game. It was the Trent Dilfer, Tom Brady's
opening night. Yeah.
They just looked awful, and then they never looked back. But the Steelers have looked this way for almost a full season if you count back to last year. So,
yeah, 2017, I think they went to the Super Bowl that year. Nonetheless, all right, here we go. We'll move on. What is your pick here? You going Green Bay big? I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about those Brady's, Patriots, and the Bucks. Professional segue, my man. As always, final note here: the Pittsburgh Steelers have won 5 games straight versus Green Bay, but they did lose the Super Bowl back in the day. All right, let's move on here to the Bucks and the Patriots. Of course, is the marquee matchup of probably regular season history in NFL. Brady obviously moves on from New England and has the strife. You're our house Patriots insider. All things Tom Brady go through you. I've been excited to talk to you guys as a brand in general because you guys all grew up Patriots fans and Brady, and of course, all that. And this will be really interesting. I want to know off the top, Chris, before we even get into this game, as a fan, fantasy out, pick'ems out, betting out, just you're watching the game on the couch. Who are you rooting for? Your Patriots to win or Tom Brady to win because you're a Brady guy and there's a little bit of spite. I've heard this on both sides of Patriots fans. So as a Patriots fan, you personally, are you rooting for Brady or are you rooting for the Patriots?
Bro, I'm rooting for Brady. I'm ashamed to say it.
I think so many New Englanders are in that ship, dude. And it just goes to show his impact more than the franchise.
It does. And you know what, dude, it's weird because like this is such a layered question. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I think it deserves a little bit of it. If for those of you obviously who don't live in New England and want to just hear a little bit of our perspective, at least this is my perspective, you just don't get a lot of Bill Belichick behind the scenes. And when you do get it, you're like, oh, wow, like he's like a really nice guy. Like he's actually low key, very funny. You hear that from a lot of the players. And when you get these videos, you're kind of like, this is awesome. This is like Bill Belichick at his best, but you just don't see it very often. And what you do see is a lot of Tom Brady, and he's just a very likable guy. And I'm kind of rooting for the likable guy here, and it isn't Bill Belichick. So I just, you grow up on Brady Belichick. And then when you see the way it sort of parted, you just feel like Tom Brady got the short end of that stick. And I really want to see Tom Brady succeed. So yeah, my heart's with Brady, dude. I mean, it would be great if the Pats won. It'd be fun if the Pats win, but my heart's with Brady. So
I love it, dude. I love it. And I think that happens a lot when you have a favorite player. Like I think of Ken Griffey Jr. when I was a kid. Joe Montana went from the Niners to the Chiefs. Jerry Rice left the Niners for some reason for his disgusting end of career situation with the Raiders and Broncos and Seahawks. But you root for the person. Right. Yeah. You're like, I'm still a Niners fan, but in this particular game, I hope Jerry Rice, Ken Griffey Jr. with the Reds, whatever, like goes off.
Right.
And I actually I was in Wrigley Field one time. The Cubs and the Reds played, and Griffey was on the Reds, hit 2 dingers. Sammy Sosa hit 2 dingers. It was an excellent game. Anyway. Okay. So Bucks are the huge favorite on the road. They're playing in New England, 6.5 point favorite for the Bucks, 49 over under. I think Brady smashes. What's interesting in this game here, which would be so sad if this actually happens, Rob Gronkowski is doubtful as of this podcast. He might be out at this point. he was questionable, and everybody on Twitter was like, yeah, dude, there's no way in hell Gronk doesn't play this game on one leg. He's doubtful at this point, and you don't often see guys get listed as doubtful and come back. Now, knowing Gronk, he might take a horse tranquilizer or two and get out there for his token touchdown. But if he doesn't play in this game, A, it's super sad for just Gronk and Patriots and Brady and everything else. B, that's a legit weapon, especially in the red zone that Brady's without. Now he gets AB back, who was out on COVID last week. Gio Bernard is out, so it's going to be Lenny Fournette and maybe Ronald Jones if he ever plays again. And then, of course, Godwin and Evans. So we'll start with the Bucs first. Brady's automatic. Godwin and Evans, I think, are automatic. AB for me is automatic in this game. He had that 15-minute, stint with the Patriots too. So I think Brady will give him one. But if Gronk doesn't play, can you start a guy like Brate or Howard? How do you feel about the running backs here? It's interesting outside of Brady and the receivers for me.
Yeah, I don't think you need the tight ends in this game, to be honest with you. If Gronk doesn't play, I think Evans, AB, Godwin, I think those guys are just going to do enough. Right now, J.C. Jackson's listed as questionable. He's their best defender on the Patriots.
That would be huge.
Yep. The Pats are actually ailing a lot of defensive injuries at the moment. You have linebacker Josh Ush, I believe is his name. He's questionable. Kyle Van Noy with a groin problem is questionable. You have tackle Isaiah Wynn. He's a big contributor for the Patriots on the offensive line. He's questionable. So now
Gilmore's been out.
Like, I don't think you need a tight end in this game. So I think AB is fine. Evans is fine. Godwin is fine. I don't think you're going to need or want to start Brate or OJ Howard. Although if you need a tight end, then go for it. On the Patriots side, bro, so you have no more James White. I think Damian Harris is going to be the guy in this game. Bill Belichick, this is kind of how I see this game going, okay? I don't think it's going to go this way, but this is how I think of it from a Patriots standpoint. Bill Belichick is going to try to game manage the shit out of this game. This is short of Bill Belichick putting on pads and playing, he's going to do everything in his power to win this game by physically manhandling the mental part of this game like a chessboard to hamstring Tom Brady and make sure they control the time of possession. They're going to do that through Damian Harris. They're going to limit the amount of ability that Mac Jones has to throw interceptions, which means that they're going to reduce his risk and give the ball to Damian Harris. This is going to be a Damian Harris showcase. So, and I think the offensive line for the Patriots has the potential to do some damage against the Bucs. This actually might be a bit of a closer game than we think if Bill gets his way. Now, on the flip side is if the defense can't stop Tom at all, then this could get well out of hand. So, but it could be close. So it could be closer than we think.
JJ Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson could hypothetically step into that James White role. We don't know who it would be, so I don't think you play either one of those guys this week. However, Chris, Ramondre Stevenson came in as a rookie, dominated preseason. I know it's preseason. Nonetheless, he dominated. JJ Taylor has kind of been that guy in the wake for a while. You're the local guy. What's your boots on the ground thought here long term? Because James White is done for the season, which, on this show, bro, we've been James White for years, and he's out. So pour one out for my boy James White. Who do you think will end up being that guy? Or does Damian Harris just inherit more pass catching? But Bill usually has a guy for this and a guy for that.
Yeah, usually that's the case. I don't know, man. I mean, if it's anybody, probably Stevenson, because he did have the better preseason. And he looked pretty good. He hadn't looked so good in the regular season yet, but he could go back to him. So we'll see. I just really think this is going to be Damian Harris's night. If the Patriots do,
can they run on the Bucs though?
I think he's going to. Like, I know that. All right, so the Bucs are really good on run defense in terms of overall production. So the third best in yards per attempt. But PFF has them graded 18th overall in run defense. So maybe it's just the fact that they're not playing teams that run the ball a lot. I can't really figure out why they're ranked 18th according to PFF, but third best in yards per attempt. So we'll find out. I mean, this is going to be a great game to watch. Obviously, this is going to be the highest rated regular season game in history. So
ever.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, because you're gonna have all the Hollywood people who don't give a shit about football watching this game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, this is TMZ gold, dude. This is all fucking headlines.
Yeah, this is fucking Tyson Holyfield. This is I don't know. This is Mayfield fucking or Mayweather and Pacquiao. So,
all right, two more predictions on this game. We'll get into the Raiders and Chargers and move on. Does Bill rock sleeves in this game? And then second one is what color hoodie does he go with?
What sleeves does he rock?
Sleeves or no sleeves?
I'm gonna say no on the sleeves, but I do want to check the temp real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. No, take your time. This is important.
I'm gonna say no sleeves while I'm looking.
Now, I think what's impressive for Bill, so he has a tendency to go no
Oh, no.
sleeve, but keep the hood. So
Yeah, no,
goes hoodie with no sleeves.
Yeah, he's in it, dude. It's gonna be 74 degrees throughout the day on Sunday. It's gonna get to a nice,
It's gorgeous
cool,
in New England this time of year. What the hell's
dude?
was it? Global warming or something?
It is. Yeah, it's global warming. It's gonna be a nice,
If that's real, obviously.
of course, yeah. It's gonna be a nice, crisp 70 to 65. So the sweater's coming out, no sleeves. It's going to be gray. He's going old school Belichick.
Gray.
You might see
Okay.
some holes. There might be some holes in that sweater.
Wow, a throwback. Like maybe like the 01 hoodie that he's had since he had Brady to throw him off a little bit.
He must
still has some Super Bowl tears that have like bleached into the shoulder.
Yeah, he might wear some Browns gear underneath. Just tell Brady I was here before you, bud. I was fucking coaching. I was coaching while you were in your diapers. Don't forget that.
Oh, shouts out to the Browns.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. Bill Belichick rocking 2 Super Bowls with the Browns before Brady even played football. Love that. Okay, let's move on here. We got one more game left and then a quick TCK recap. Appreciate everyone tuning in. We're going overtime, of course, on this episode per usual. Raiders, Chargers. Somehow the Raiders have accidentally scored 2 Monday night games. That might continue if they continue to win ball games. 3-0 for the Raiders. They won 3 of 4 against the Chargers. Shout out to my boy, Alex Benevides, who is the second biggest Chargers fan in the industry. I appreciate that. My boy, Jay Herbs, of course, right behind me from our friends at Jersey Jungle, at the Jersey Jungle on Instagram. Promo code TCK for 10 to 15% off of your jerseys like Justin Herbert. For the Raiders, Derek Carr, absolutely on fire, leads the NFL in passing yardage. Peyton Barber, do you guys remember Peyton Barber? Dominated, over 100 yards and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs may or may not play. Even if he does, dude's a bum, sit him. On the passing side, Darren Waller hasn't been getting 19 targets a game like he did in week 1, but you play him every single week, obviously with the upside. Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards are flex plays with upside. So I like both those guys if you need a spot start. The other side, Jay Herbs, Allen, Mike Williams, automatics across the board. Eckler's automatic. And then Jared Cook, I guess, would be kind of the stream if you need it guy. So let's just talk about Derek Carr. Can you stream him in a single quarterback league, Chris? Are you okay with Ruggs and Edwards as a flex? And on the other side, how do you feel about Jared Cook?
Yeah, okay. So unpack that a little bit. Dude, one guy that I don't think you mentioned is also Hunter Renfro. That guy is balling right now. Alex loves Hunter Renfro, and I think right now he's wide receiver 28 on the season, if I'm correct. So Renfro's playing pretty well in a PPR format. Yeah, dude, I like the Raiders in this game. I know the Chargers have a lot of offensive power, but the Raiders defense is low key pretty good. I know they're not playing, anybody that notable in a sense, but I mean, they're winning in overtime. They're
the
winning.
Ravens.
Yeah, they beat the Ravens. Like they beat the Dolphins, I think it was last week. Was it the
You're going to beat the
week?
Chiefs?
Yeah, exactly. So they're ranked right now. Their defense is ranked 2nd overall graded in PFF. And I don't think that's a fluke. I think they're actually playing well. I talked a little bit about this a while back, the Raider fallacy. And look, their biggest problem was turnovers. We talked about this a little bit last week. They're not turning the ball over. Derek Carr's playing lights out. You have Darren Waller as a focal point in that offense. They have good weapons around Darren Waller. I have no problem starting Henry Ruggs, Renfro. If you want to go Edwards, if you in a deeper league, maybe. I like the Raiders offense to all get a little bit of piece of this pie this week. So yeah, fire them up, man. Go for it.
All right. And Jared Cook?
Yeah, Jared Cook. Jared Cook if you need him. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty easy one here there for the Raiders and the Chargers. We're both going Bucks big on the last one. I don't think we mentioned that, but I think it goes without saying. Chargers or Raiders here on Monday Night Football?
I'm going with the Raiders.
I got to stick with Herbie, dude. Plus, Alex is going for the Chargers, so we'll go 2-1 Chargers over the Raiders. All right, Chris, we are in massive overtime here, but that's how we're doing it on these particular podcasts. I'm going to transition quickly and get into our TCK Listener League episodes and or our bonus coverage, I guess I should say. If you haven't yet and you are interested in reaching out for our Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football podcast listener leagues, that is something we do in the off season. So we're done for this year, but you can reach out to me now. And I usually have a kind of a running list of people that didn't make it that I can reach out to next season. So if you're interested, feel free to DM me on Twitter at SkyGuasco. Chris, we're going to run through each one of these quickly and just run through some roster things. And then we'll get to some Q&A and we'll get out of here. So again, we're going overtime on these episodes, but that's how we do it here because we got a lot of information to cover. And we're here for the people. So let's jump into this here. All right, we're going to start with my roster. And let me bring it up on my sheet here. Boom, live coverage. All right, here we go. Okay, my roster here. Ryan Tannehill, who I'm looking to sit, but I can't figure it out in a super flex league. Ryan Tannehill without two of his best weapons, Naheem Hines, Kenyon Drake. Tyler Boyd gave me 16. DK Metcalf, Darren Waller, Jalen Waddle, Tom Brady, and Arizona defense. I'm thinking about trying to stream a quarterback off the waivers, but no one is really available. I do have Deontay Johnson that I'm going to be putting in, assuming he is a full go. Other than that, I think I'm probably set.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know who's available on waivers, but I mean, not the worst option to have for QB.
Okay, let's move on to the other side here. Boy, Brady for Prez has Rodgers, Kamara, Harris, Pittman. That's Najee Harris, Mike Williams, Hawkinson, Carson, AB, and Packers defense. Not looking forward to this matchup. He's pretty stacked, and I think he's playing his best matchup there.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a good squad, so good luck to you, bud.
All right, let's move on here. Our boy Paulie, President Richard Mixon going up against Hyde and Zeke. Dominating roster so far. Paul's going with Wilson. Mixon gave him 13. Mike Davis, Juju. How about Rodgers going with the fifth stringer here from the Tennessee Titans?
I like it. Yeah.
Mark Andrews, Myles Gaskin, Josh Allen, Carolina defense.
Yeah, I like it. Who else does he have on the bench though? I want to see who he's subbing for Chester Rogers. Robbie Anderson. Yeah, I mean
Bob Anderson, Nelson Aguilar, Devontae Parker, Sammy Watkins. Actually, some decent options.
I like the Chester Rogers play, dude. I mean, if they're going to score, it's going to go through him. He's not a bad wide receiver, so we'll see what happens, but I like the play.
How about this here? We don't talk DSTs very often, but he's got Carolina DST against Dallas, at Dallas, or he's got the Bucks versus the Patriots, or the Bears versus the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina is just a better defense. So I know they're playing Dallas, but I'm actually also starting the Carolina Panthers in one of my leagues over the Ravens. So, so I don't mind that pick. It makes sense. They're just playing very well. So if they get to the quarterback, and Dak's been known to get tackled, so a couple of sacks could be heading his way.
All right, let's move on to Hyde and Zeke here. We got Bridgewater, Henry, James Robinson goes for 20. CeeDee Lamb, Diggs, Logan Thomas, Dalvin Cook, assuming he plays. Winston and the Patriots defense. It's got Bobby Woods, Renfro, and Madison on the bench.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I already talked about Renfro. Maybe Renfro could see some light there, but I don't think he's got any room. Maybe Dalvin Cook, you sub Renfro out for Dalvin Cook if he doesn't play Dalvin Cook.
But he's got Madison, though.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, so maybe you want to play Madison instead. Dude, that's a tough one. Yeah. I mean, honestly, dude, I was looking at the Patriots defense as like the glaring hole in his lineup. That's the only thing they're the only team. I just wouldn't start the Pats defense, but I don't think he has anybody else. So,
yeah. All right. Okay, moving on here. Lucas and Jay Kerr, roommates. Lucas has Matt Ryan, Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Tyler Higby, Allen Robinson, Matt Stafford, Dallas defense, and looking on the bench, Cortland Sutton would be his other option.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Maybe Elijah Mitchell if he does suit up as a possibility, but team looks pretty solid overall.
Jay Kerr rolling out Mahomes, Miles Sanders, Edmonds, Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Kittle, assuming they play. Deebo Samuel had Trevor Lawrence for 16, and then the Chargers defense. No other viable starters on the bench.
Yep, I think
that's the squad there for Jay Kerr.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Dweezy. Dweezy and Josh. Shouts out to TCK and Commish alumni. Dweezy's going with Cousins, Barkley, Chubb, Evans, Jefferson, Goddard, Hubbard, and Goff with the Washington football defense. He's got, let's see, Henderson and Corey Davis on the bench.
Yeah. Corey Davis would probably be the only other potential start, but Chuba Hubbard would probably do just fine in that flex position. So good lineup. I think he's got it set.
Josh is rolling out Prescott, Gibson, Demont, Godwin, Devonta Smith, Gesicki, Ayuk, Kyler Murray, and the Bills defense. And Emmanuel Sanders is on his bench. Chenault went for 14 on his bench as well.
Team stinks. I'm just kidding.
Throw it out.
Just messing with you, Josh. Your team is fine.
Let's go Hawk Dalladay here. Sammy D, Eckler, Damian Harris, Cooper Kupp, Scary Terry, Tunyon, Amari Cooper, Derek Carr, and the Saints. He's got Baker on the bench and Jacoby Myers as well.
Yeah. Amari Cooper, huh? I mean, do you start McKissick over Amari Cooper? I don't know. I don't know. That team, a lot of question marks there. Robert Tunyon's a huge question mark for me, but he doesn't have another tight end to start. I had Tunyon as my sit of the week, actually, in the playbook for the commish, so not totally fond of him. But I guess he's starting his best lineup. I mean, he looks like he's projected to win, so maybe just keep riding that wave. But, let's jump into the other team, and we can see how it looks.
There you go. Curly has Lamar Jackson, Zeke, CEH, Marvin Jones, Tyler Lockett, Kyle Pitts, Chase Claypool, Jalen Hurts, and the Bungles defense gave him 5. He has Darnell Mooney on the bench. Nobody else really.
Yeah, how did Marvin Jones do for him last night?
Marvin Jones didn't do anything.
Didn't do much, right? Yeah.
Was he in there? Oh, he was. 4 points.
Yeah.
3 catches for 24 yards.
Yeah, I feel like the team here has more upside. He can potentially still pull out the win, but overall just needs a lot of help. So
I agree. Okay, last one here, and we'll get to the rookie league. Nosu for you and Ulysses. Nosu for you going with Heineke, Hunt, Aaron Jones, Thielen, Ridley, Kelsey, Beckham, Daniel, the Hitman Jones, and the Tennessee defense. Cole Beasley on the bench. Niners and Steelers defenses on the bench too, or the Tennessee defense against the Jets. Caleb Farley out for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think he's at the best lineup in there. I'd probably stick with Tennessee's defense. I think that's fine with me.
Ulysses going with Jay Herbs, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Jamar Chase gave him 11 points. Noah Fant, Brandon Cooks, Joe Burrow went for 21 in the Colts defense. He has James Garoppolo on the bench, Lenny Fournette, and Kenny Golladay, Marquise Brown, Cleveland defense versus Minnesota. He's got a number of options you could swap in there.
Yeah, if I could find a way to get Fournette in there, I would, but
JT Swift.
Yeah, you're not going to sit Swift, that's for sure. But do you sit Taylor? Maybe I'm trying to find
Taylor
ways
may not
to
even
get.
Play. I mean, he's beat up anyway.
Yeah, dude. Maybe you swap Taylor out for Fournette just for this game. I do think Fournette's gonna have a big game this week.
Oof. All right, we shall see what happens there. That is the veteran league.
Wait, by the way, just one point to that. Gio Bernard's out this week, so I don't think Rojo's going to be the guy. Rojo's in the fucking doghouse right now, so that's another reason why Fournette I think is going to have a big week.
I agree. Let's move on to the rookie league here. We'll start with Bobo's team going up against Drew Reb. Bob's got Prescott, CEH, Moss, DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett going for Tyler Boyd. Pardon me. 16 points, Evan Ingram, Cooper Kupp, Josh Allen in Miami defense. He's got Sammy D on the bench and Amari Cooper on the bench. Bobby's a big Amari Cooper guy. He's got him on the bench.
Yeah, so that should tell you something there. Yeah, good team. I mean, I have no questions other than the Zach Moss play, but I mean, he's starting him for a reason, so go for it.
Going up against Houston.
Yep.
All right, Drew Reb going with Winston, Lat Murray, Eckler, Tyreek Hill, Thielen, Tunyon, Woods, Bridgewater, Bucks defense. Nobody else really on the bench.
Yeah, he needs a lot of guys to support here, so hopefully the team gets it done.
All right, our girl Megatron out in the UK going up against keeping up with the Joneses. I love this because when you have a bunch of guys on your team, you come up with a creative team name. Well done. We'll go with Megan first here. Aaron Rodgers, Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Pittman, Pat Freiermuth, Chris Carson, Jimmy Garoppolo, and the Colts defense. Let's see here. Cole Beasley and Brandon Ayuk are the other options on the bench that might be reliable.
Yeah, I mean, I like Cole Beasley. If you can find a way to get him in there, then go for it. But I mean, maybe Cole Beasley over Pittman.
Not a bad move. Secondary is still good for Miami, and I don't trust Carson Wentz. I would do that too. All right, on the other side here, we got Tannehill, Sanders, Aaron Jones, Waddle, Corey Davis, Gronk in there now, but doubtful. And then Keenan Allen, Lamar Jackson, Bengals defense going for 5. He's got Jamal Williams, Tyson Williams, Robbie Anderson, Tim Patrick, Emmanuel Sanders, Brian Edwards on the bench. All those are good options, but he's going to have to find a tight end.
Yep,
So
I agree with you.
That's going to be the fill. The rest of the lineup looks good to me.
Agreed.
Okay, let's move on to Pelkey and Wanotts. We'll go with Pelkey first. Stafford, Barkley, Hunt, Claypool, AB, Kelsey, Kittle, Burrow goes for 21, and Rams. Defense here. Henderson, Singletary on the bench.
I think he's playing the best lineup he has. Yeah.
I agree. Hunt would be the only one there, but I'm still going to roll with Hunt against Minnesota. Okay, let's go with Wanotts here. Matt Ryan, Mixon, gave him 13. Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Adams, Samuel Pitts, Javonte Williams, Mackie Jones, and the Browns defense. And Jacoby Myers and Devontae Smith are the two options on defense. I'd like to get Deontay Smith in there if I can, but I'm not sitting Adams. Debo's tough, but I would actually sit Debo personally. And I might even look at moving Javonte Williams off if Melvin Gordon plays.
Yeah, agreed to an extent. Melvin Gordon got his fucking head clocked off by CJ Mosley last week. So, or maybe it was a week before that. But yeah, I don't know. Jacoby Myers, I like him as a starter. Probably not Darnell Mooney. Smith, maybe just because Casey's defense has been atrocious. But I don't know who you'd play over him. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Debo just makes me nervous, man. I know he's got huge stats, but people don't realize that like 2 of his plays are, 50-plus yarders, and that shit just doesn't happen. It's not the type of player that he is, so I'm nervous about that.
Fair enough.
Okay, let's move on here. Funk and our girl Kelly. Shouts out to our girl Kelly here, part of the Commish team. Funk going with Brady, Hines, Henry, Evans, Metcalf, Gesicki, Brown. That's Marquise Brown. Goff and Buffalo defense. Lawrence on the bench at 16. Juju on the bench. And Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah, maybe Ruggs in place of Brown, but that's pretty much it. I think the rest of his team is good.
Okay. I think Juju even in case of Brown, I think could be okay. But yeah, I hear you there. All right, Kelly needs some work. She's got AJ Brown. Let's help her out here. She got Mayfield, Zeke, Chubb, Rondale Moore, Terry McLaurin, Mark Andrews, AJ Brown, Derek Carr, Washington football team. So we need to find a second flex here. She's got Damian Harris, who you think is going to kind of control that. She also has Shepard and Higgins on this team. 3 of her wide receivers are out this week. Kelly, that's a rough break.
Yeah,
Chris, we need to find a flex for her.
Yeah, it's got to be Damian Harris.
Got to be Damian Harris. What about Tyler Higby? Half PPR.
I'd still probably go with Harris here. I think he's a touchdown upside.
Okay. We'll go with Jordan and Banta. We'll go Jordan first. Kyler, Cordell Patterson, Demont, Ridley, Diggs, Hawkinson, Mike Williams, Cousins, and the Saints defense. And Tyler Lockett and Sutton on his bench. If Tyler Lockett is healthy, do you play him over? I mean,
nobody.
You play Mike Williams. How about Ridley?
No, you got to play Ridley. Can't sit Ridley.
Banta going with Mahomes. James Robinson gave him 20. And Antonio Gibson, Beckham, Allen Robinson, Logan Thomas, Christian Kirk, Russell Wilson, Denver defense, Myles Gaskin, Laviska Shenault gave him 14, and that's about it on the bench. I think this is the squad.
I agree with that. Yep, looks good.
All right, final. We'll go to the Commish squad. 3-0. Looking good, my man. Looking to claw your way back up into the veteran league. This is a great start.
This is a
Going up against
desperation season.
Going up against Weston, big time follow to TCK. Shouts out my boy Weston. All right, going up against Heineke, Edmonds, Mike Davis, Hopkins, Brandon Cooks, Darren Waller, Deontay Johnson, Leonard Fournette, and the Ravens defense. And oh man, Deshaun Watson on his team can't play. Tyrod Taylor on injured reserve. Christian McCaffrey out. Yikes. Will Fuller, Hunter Renfro, Chargers defense versus the haters. Out of good sportsmanship, Chris. Do you think he has the best squad?
I should do, yeah. I actually sent him a trade that I won't go into, but I was trying to give him Chuba Hubbard in place of CMC since he has him, but I think he declined. So
okay,
I think he's at his best team out there.
All right, and then on your side, man, Herbert, Kamara, Swift, Godwin, Jefferson, Fant, Hubbard, Hurts, and New England Patriots defense here. Let me give a scan. Galladay against Lattimore, no thank you. And you're looking good, man. Jamar Chase on your bench was a risky sit, but well done. Only 10 points. If Cook doesn't play, you might be able to squeeze in Madison. But otherwise, man, that looks like a great squad. Best of luck to you. All right, folks, per usual, that's a long one on the TCK Listener League recaps. I'm with Chris Benevides of the Commish Fantasy Football Podcast. All of your breakdowns for week 4. Chris, one more time, let the TCK Potters know where they can find all your content.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. So, yeah, everyone can find us over at the Commish Fantasy Football Podcast and all your notable podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, if you have that. You can also check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at the Commish FFP. And, of course, go check out our website, thecomishbrand.com, and go cop yourself the playbook. You just put your name, your email address. When you go to the website, and if you want to just find it, it's thecomishbrand.com/the-playbook. And then you'll get it every week. It drops every Tuesday morning. It's totally free, gives you all the best content, and then preps you for the week to come as waivers approach on Wednesdays. So, that's where you can find us, guys.
Go get it, folks. It's free. Check it out. Great content. The crew over there is absolutely fantastic. Shouts out to Josh and everybody else that put so much time into it. Of course, you can find the Fantasy Focus Squad on Facebook, on YouTube, right here. Smash the bell, hit the subscribe. Make sure to catch us Sunday mornings, 3 hours before kickoff for all of your start sits on Twitch and on Twitter as well. You can find me on Twitter at Sky Guasco and on Facebook at Fantasy Football _TCK. It's a long one at the end of the week, but we got bye weeks coming up in 2 weeks, and that will trim us down a little bit. Best of luck to everybody in the TCK listener leagues, both the rookie and the veteran divisions. Chris, give me a score prediction. Bucks, Patriots.
I'm going to go 31-21 Bucks over the Pats.
Boom. Love it. All right. 2-minute speed round. We got some questions here, and we're going to get out of here. We got a lot of questions. You can save a lot of these for Sunday morning. Here we go. Mowgli on YouTube. Pitts or Higby? I'm losing confidence in Pitts. What's your thoughts?
You shouldn't lose confidence in Pitts. It was a fluke week last week. He's clearly one of the number one targets on that team. But in this particular game, yeah, I can see where your head's at. If you tend
I'm going to go Higby personally.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I was going to say if you tend to lean Higby, stick with Higby. But I wouldn't fault you for playing Pitts in this one as well. So I think you have a good problem to have. But don't lose confidence in Pitts, though.
If I have an extra guy like a Higby, I'm okay to have Pitts blow up on my bench because now I know it's there and I can go back to it later on. I don't want to keep handling these duds. All right, Fragger. We answered one of his questions earlier with Hopkins. We got to that with Ramsey. Carson, Cordell Patterson, Antonio Gibson. Pick one, Chris. And if we don't know the format, we just default to half PPR.
I'm going to go with Chris Carson here.
Chris Carson. I am going to go Chris Carson versus the Niners. They'll shut down the run. I'm going to go Antonio Gibson, assuming he's fully healthy. Okay, also from Mowgli, Prescott or Carr? How about that conversation?
Probably Prescott.
Prescott as well. Okay, Blue Crew, half PPR. Thank you, Blue Crew, for letting us know. Half PPR, 12-team Superflex. Devonta Smith, Brandon Cooks.
I'm going to go with Devonta Smith here, actually. Casey's not looking good.
I am too. I think that they could shut down Cooks potentially. Okay, we got to Self there with Derrick Henry being expensive. Pick one, PPR. Thank you, TS, for letting us know your format there. PPR, pick one, Pittman, Juju, Hollywood. I can pick up Tim Patrick, Renfro, Emmanuel Sanders as well. So out of those 6, Chris, Pittman Jr., Hollywood, Patrick, Renfro, Sanders, who are you picking one for PPR?
I'd actually go with Renfro here in a PPR format. Renfro.
Against Houston, I'm going to take Emmanuel Sanders. Dominating in targets, dominating down the field. Nobody in Houston can cover him. I think you can pick up Sanders, excuse me. All right. Any more down here? I'm scrolling the comments. A lot of comments today. I appreciate everybody sticking in here. Thank you. One more. Come here now, Beach 89. By the way, nobody can see this because I'll bring them up. Beach give a score prediction for every single game as we were going along. I love that. I'm gonna hold you to it, Beach. Well done. Quickly, Chris, Hines or he's got 2 in here. Quickly, Hines or Hunt, half PPR.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hines. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hines here. But I love Hunt, so it's a close one.
Okay, I'm gonna go Hunt just to make it extra risque.
Mhm.
And then Gesicki, who did nothing until last week, 10 plus targets, or Brait, who will be maybe Gronk this week.
Yeah, I just don't think you're gonna need tight ends in this game, so I'm gonna go Gesicki here.
I'm going to go Gesicki as well. That's all your start sit questions for this episode. Running overtime here. Catch us Sunday, 3 hours right here on the Fantasy Focused YouTube channel. Smash the subscribe, hit that bell, and we'll catch you Sunday morning. For my man, Chris Benevides, and the entire Commish crew, I'm your host, Sky Guasco. Got some overtime for you there. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, y'all. Good luck on Sunday. We are out of here.